Today on Bloom Health Club, our top guest is the author of Fundamentally Unstoppable, sharing the mindset, habits, and strategies that help people break through limits and build lasting strength from the inside out. So get ready to feel inspired, empowered, and unstoppable because Bloom Health Club starts now.
From the Stream Center, welcome to Bloom Health Club, sponsored by Monticciolo Family and Sedation Dentistry.
Bloom Health Club. Our guest today is the author of a book designed to help you level up in life. Joining me now is award-winning entrepreneur, keynote speaker, and the author of Fundamentally Unstoppable, Jason. It is so great to have you on Bloom.
Thank you for having me. Grateful.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about what inspired you to write your book.
Well, I was a wayward soul. I needed a foundation. And I found a foundation in tons of books throughout the years, and I started to assemble it into a framework for living your life. And then I started teaching it in the companies that I owned. And anytime a new soul would join our company, they had to go through that process, pretty much the book.
Really?
Yeah.
So talk me through the process. What does that look like?
Of writing the book?
Well, living the,
living it.
Yeah, living the book, the chapters of the book.
Well, I've lost everything 3 times, almost a 4th. I've been suicidal. I've self-medicated from those big falls in life to go to pennilessness. And I needed something to build my own life. And as I started to amass these philosophies and teachings, I started to document it, and then I created it into a program. But the very first one I did was when I was 17 years old. It was the first public speech I ever gave. And this framework was really, the first 3 or 4 chapters of this book is exactly what I talked about in that very first speech. I was 17, and I was talking to kids in a juvenile justice center from 12 to 18 years old in Brockton, Massachusetts.
Wow. Wow, that is unbelievable. And, you're very transparent about your own struggles. You say that at 17, you were either misdiagnosed or not diagnosed at all, but your struggle was with bipolar disorder. And, to your point, because you and I have had the opportunity to talk before, when you talk about mental health issues, there's such a stigma that comes with that. But if you said you had cancer, everybody would rally behind you, and that's part of your mission to change that.
Absolutely. It angers me, actually, that people are afraid to discuss their mental health. And the reason why it angers me is because problems are going to ensue if left unchecked. If you have an undiagnosed illness, what do you think is going to happen? And a lot of these are progressive, too, so they get worse. Mm-hmm. So if you don't yell uncle or try to get some help, it just will get worse. And you know what? That's a lot of people too. Everyone connected to that individual is going to be down in that chaos,
So what was the light switch for you? When were you able to start pivoting into a life where you were willing to take these risks, where you were able to manage your mental health concerns?
Well, I didn't get medicated until 42 years old.
Wow.
So I lived a life of mania, which is intense. It's the best way to put it. Very intense living, fast living, risk taking. But when I got medicated, I felt like someone had cellophane over my face, and I just cut a hole through the mouth, and I went, oh. When I finally got medicated, I was like, oh my God, this is how normal people feel? This is amazing.
Yeah, well, I want to ask you about that because some people don't like the medication. They feel that it dulls them and they almost miss the highs and the lows of life. But for you say that it was just something that was awakening.
Well, the people that are feeling over-medicated and they the shell of themselves are frankly either on the wrong drug, on the wrong amount of drug, or a combination of them. You have to kind of play mad scientist with your brain, and it can take 2-3 years to dial it in. I'm at a point where I've gotten it so perfect, I don't want to mess with it. Oh, would you like us to change it? No, I'm good. Let's keep this going. But it takes like practice. And unfortunately, you take one that's not suited for you, and then you're like,
you think they're all not going to be suited for you,
and then you give up, and that's the worst thing you can do because you need a really good doctor, number one, and then when you do that and you figure it out and you get into that smooth spot, then you stay steady.
I think it's so cool that you've taken everything that you've learned from your own life journey and now you've got it in a book so that we can all read it. But the fact that you even helped employees that work for you along the way, it's not often that your employer will give you a playbook and say, not only is this what I expect of you, but here's how I feel like you can best achieve it. So let's go back to some of the fundamental things that you like to teach the people around you.
Well, bring up a good point because it's antithetical for an employer to say what I'm about to say. But when you walked into our office, we had a giant 20-foot wall, and it said, "I work harder on myself than I do my job." And people would come in and look at that and go, "What?" I'm like, listen, if you're working harder on your job than your whole life, you've got the cart before the horse. But when you're working on yourself, everything else kind of smooths away. When you're taking care of you and when you're focusing and you're making progress and you're being disciplined and being held accountable. These are the fundamentals that are in the book. These fundamentals have been around for thousands of years. It's just you're either doing them or you're not. And when you're doing them, yeah, you feel like that momentum and you feel unstoppable. And when you feel unstoppable, you like radiate this energy and people are attracted to that.
I love that. It's interesting because I talk about this often. I spent a long, long career as a journalist and a morning news anchor and deep diving into news, which has become very negative and very, very divisive. Mm-hmm. And 5 years ago, when I was asked to take over the show on health and wellness, I felt like our mental health and building those pillars and how we, take care of ourselves is so incredibly important. And I feel like I'm living proof of it. I feel as though I came here 20 pounds overweight with the wrong hair color, with an autoimmune disorder. And the list went on and on and on and on. But by talking to experts like yourself, you're right. It is foundational to try to work on yourself because you're so much better for the people who are around you.
Yeah, I have a thing called purposeful intentionality, and I created a system called Thrive. It's actually in the book. Thrive is an acronym. Successful people, happy people, don't wake up and hope they have a great day. They make it. They carve it out. They craft what the day is going to be. So I created this system called Thrive. T is to be thankful. Yeah. Have an attitude of gratitude. Let's start with that. See the people and the things that you're grateful for in your life. H is to hype yourself up. Give yourself a fighting chance. With all the negative news, hey, man, today's going to be the day. I'm going to have that breakthrough. I'm going to get that call, whatever it is. R is to reach for information. Don't listen to the radio. Go listen to a book. Listen to a podcast. Feed your mind. Maybe even ask God for some guidance. I is to inspire service to others. Go out of your way today to make somebody smile or to help someone in some way, shape, or form. And V is for vibe. Don't be so serious, Lighten up, right? Lighten up, Francis, from the old movie. And then lastly, E is to evoke that feeling that which you want the most. And not only visualize what it would be like to have those goals, but then feel what it would be like to have it real and now. And now you start your day. Can you imagine that method right there? How you will change your day just by doing that?
Oh, you're going to completely reframe it.
Yes.
I mean, even with the waking up with gratitude. And again, you don't have to be faith driven. I am, but you don't have to be thankful.
Right.
I walk into this building every day, and trust me when I tell you that I've been walking into this building for many decades now. And I look up at the sky and I look at the building and I just thank God for the opportunities that have been given to me. I try to, ask him to let me walk in light and let me help other people. When you start everything with that kind of mindset, most of the time, it falls into place. Not always. There's going to be, a wrench thrown into what your plans, what you thought your plans would be. So what's your advice for people when they hit that brick wall? Because I know you've hit it in your life. I've hit it in mine. If you've been on this planet long enough, you're going to face that wall.
Yeah, I agree. And to go back to the gratefulness, what if you only woke up today with what you were grateful for yesterday?
Yeah.
What would you have? So, and then when you hit that wall, I want to bust through the wall. That's the reason why that train is busting through a wall. And if you're taking care of all the necessary things, all the fundamentals in your life, you're paying attention to your own patterns, you're doing the right mindset, you are unstoppable. And yeah, life is going to throw all kinds of challenges and disappointments. You're going to say, why me? Why now, God? You're supposed to give me what I can handle. Why do you think I can handle this?
Yeah.
But in the end, we always inevitably say, we always say, I wouldn't change a thing.
Oh, yeah.
With all my losses and everything, losing everything I've ever owned, I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't be here right this moment. I wouldn't have my little babies. I wouldn't have my life.
Yeah, you're so right. And I think, too, that when you go through challenging phases of your life, and I've been through many, my most recent that I talk about often on the show and here on Bloom Health Club was the loss of my parents that meant everything to me. They were such amazing people. And I was by their side, both of them, through their end of life, which came back to back. But it was the principles that you speak of, the way you walk in, even during the dark days, even when you don't see that light at the end of the tunnel or you can't feel it or see it exactly. If you can put these principles into place and approach every day with the thankfulness, with the, what am I to learn here? It does help you through the darker times.
I completely agree. I think that you have to take little tiny steps. I have the saying, inch by inch is a cinch. It feels overwhelming. You might be feeling you're in a hole. You might be, totally desperate and you don't feel like there's anything that's going to work for you. Take a little step. Yeah. Pray, read, listen to something, move forward from where you are today, and then just do it each and every single day. It's simple. It's not like I don't think there's no like hack. Mm-hmm. Here's a good hack, though. If you're down and out and you don't know what to do, start a new discipline.
I like that.
Even if it's wiping the little water drops from your sink and making sure it's beautiful and clean before you leave, right? Just something. And each day you do that and do a new one, you'll start to feel good. You'll build self-esteem, self-confidence, and you'll start to glow.
Yeah. You're right. Even something as simple like right now, my husband and I, every January, and then it lingers on and on, we do dry January. It's a discipline. It's so that we can look at each other and say at any given moment, if this becomes a runaway train, you can just shelve it. I think you have to show yourself, prove yourself, like whether you go to the gym or whatever it is that you do in life, that discipline comes into play and it can help you during the dark days. And
discipline is not comfortable.
No, it's not.
You go even though you don't want to go, right?
Right.
Like you do it because it's non-negotiable. Right. And that's an uncomfortable spot. But that's like we spoke about before. Being in an uncomfortable state, the longer you can remain in that, the better off you are. Because that's where push comes from. Look at a muscle. Mm-hmm. When we lift weights and it's burning. Yeah. If you stop and rest, you're missing the point here. We're supposed to go through pain to get to the pleasure.
I like that. And we talked earlier about the importance of embracing that space that feels uncomfortable. And I think whenever you shift in life, which it's very important to do, it's not going to feel like rainbows and unicorns. It's going to feel uncertain. It's going to feel uncomfortable. But you believe that's where we grow the most. I do. There's two concepts I like to talk about. One is the 212-degree principle. If you haven't heard it, 211 degrees, water's hot. 212, it boils. 211 will never boil. But just 1 degree takes hot water into boiling water. Boiling water creates steam. Steam can power locomotives. It was just a little bit. So imagine you're on a boat and you're anchored up and you want to move. What do you have to do? You got to pull the anchor. And then you look at the anchor and you're like, this big chain, big heavy thing. But you have to realize you only have to lift that anchor 1 inch off the ground of the bottom of the ocean and that boat is moving. It's the same thing with your life. It's just that 212 to me is that extra little thing, an extra bit of uncomfortability, pain, suffering to get to where you want to go. You were able to do that brilliantly. I think a lot of us, and I include us because I'm talking about myself personally, sometimes I feel like maybe I might have even reached greater potential had I not been so afraid of the fear of failure. You come and just give it a big old bear hug. You don't care. I'm very transparent, yes, and I have failed more than I have been successful. I really have. I mean, 12 companies, 3 were successful. The rest were bust. It was tough. It's hard, but yeah, why not? Like if I ever get a stain on my shirt on the way to work, like people freak out about that. I'm like, you don't? No, you know why? Because I'm not going to be on a runway.
Who cares, right? I even wrote a blog post about this. I'm like,
Really?
it's just a spot. Who cares? Who are you? What are you, some Hollywood actor?
So you just go full steam ahead.
Yeah, I do.
But how do you handle the feelings of being uncomfortable? Like, I'll go back because I lived experiences. I remember leaving news and coming to start a show with zero resources, and it was uncomfortable. I went from this high profile position to, hi, Gayle, meet this lady. You guys are going to create a globally syndicated health and wellness show. It did not start off easy at all. There were many, many growing pains. But man, I look back on it retrospectively and I'm like, thank God I took the punch in the gut on this one and checked my ego at the door. And got to moving, because it is something I feel that I'll always look back on and be so grateful that I was part of something that is positive and pushes people in the right direction of life.
Yeah, I love that. That's my love language. I love helping people.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
I get my sense of significance from helping others.
And do you think that's where your sense of success comes from? That it's just kind of a ripple effect? Because I was speaking of like diving into whatever makes you happy. For me, it's, scripture. It's about doing things quietly in life and not grandstanding, and doing things as a secret almost, where you don't have to go announce, hey, I helped that person, I helped that person. But the residuals tend to appear whether you're looking for them or not. And I'm not looking for them. I'm not looking for a pat on the back. But if you live your life that way, it does seem to pay out some amazing dividends.
It does. And when you have hopes for another person and you see capabilities that maybe they don't see themselves, they rise to them.
Yes.
There are studies on this. So yes, I didn't call them employees. I called them my souls. They were souls that rented their most valuable thing to me, their time. And I wanted them to, I would say, listen, I don't expect you to retire here, but while you're here, I want you to work your hardest you've ever worked, and I promise this will be the most incredible experience of your life. And it was more about personal and professional development than it was about them doing their job. And because I actually had a colleague came to me the other day. He says, we were losing everything. We were losing clients, millions of dollars. And then you came out to me and you were like, hey, are you okay? And he's like, I've never had a boss say that to me. Like, you're the one that's dealing with all this mess, and you're asking if I'm okay.
Yeah, that's not your typical boss, but but I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So let's see if we can squeeze in a few viewer questions. Anne reached out and she wants to know, if someone's listening and they feel stuck or broken, what would you want them to hear?
Remember who you are. Remember how far you've come, the battles you have fought, the forging you have done to make you into who you are today. Remember that always. I had to do that in my darkest of times. My friend once said, you're Jason Caras. You remember that, right? We need to reflect. I actually have another methodology I teach in the book, which is called the gaze of reckoning. And it's about staring into the mirror. And for the first 5 seconds, you're like, oh, I got to pluck that eyebrow. And there's a booger.
That would be me.
I got a booger on my nose.
Yeah.
But then you start to stare into your soul. And then you start to reflect. And then you start to have a conversation with that inner person that wants to live the most extraordinary part of your life. And it might say, you may even say it out loud. You might say, all right, it's time. But it starts within. No one's going to come in and hit a light switch for you, right? You have to find that strength from within. Start with who you are. And take it from there.
I love that. All right, let's move on to Mary, who wants to know, what is one small step someone can take today to start again?
I would say start with a system. Imagine a city without streetlights. Imagine a football game without any plays or organization. It would be kind of funny, really. If you're not subscribing to some sort of system for your life, then you're subscribing to a life of chaos. Things happen to you. Don't go into the world like that. Start with owning that this is going to be my day. I'm going to make it the way I want to make it. I'm going to start with purposeful intentionality. I'm going to set the tone, and I'm going to go through my day.
That's it.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. All right, let's go to Mark, who wants to know, where can people find your book and learn more?
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Amazon. It's on Amazon. By the way, that was a pretty easy process getting a book.
Was it?
Oh, yeah. It was really cool. I used Grok AI
Okay.
told me how to apply and get the ISBN number and all the stuff that you have to do. And they just print these on demand. So it's on Amazon. It's on my website. I'm actually going to write another book called Thrive, which is a part of that, the purposeful intentionality. It's going to be a small book, but now that I've written a book, I'm going to write more. I loved it.
You do?
Oh, I loved it. It was so awesome. Yeah, you're pouring your heart and soul into this and bearing your soul.
I love that. And I do. Oh, Nacha, she's
Hi.
here. I'm so glad. This is our director and our producer of Bloom and Bloom Health Club. Yes. Nacha, do you have a question?
Yes, I did want to add one viewer question on my end. Going back to your struggles, I wanted to know, what was that one thing that kind of sparked that change going down the same road? Because when someone's dealing with addiction, sometimes it's easier to stay in the comfortable and what you know, and stay in the cycles of addiction, or stay, if you're dealing with mental health issues, it's kind of easier to stay, even if it's an uncomfortable and you don't want to be in that anymore, it's easier to stay in that cycle that you're in. So what was it that triggered for you that change of, this is what I'm going to pivot and get out of this and focus on wellness?
It's going to sound crazy, but I was sitting at a kitchen table, with a kilo of cocaine and a machine gun. And I was sitting there saying, what am I doing in this room? I mean, I come up, I have a good family, I live in a good neighborhood. What am I doing in this room? Yeah. And that was kind of my bottom. Geez, I got to change something here. Mm-hmm. And I actually found a book. I found a book called Your Erroneous Zones by Dr. Wayne Dyer. And it was like a blueprint, like, hey, you want to change your life? You want to learn about your mind? Yeah, have some of this. And I learned, and I read that, and I was off to the races. And then I started reading everyone I could.
Of Wayne Dyer, or you have
Wayne Dyer, Jim Rohn, Earl Nightingale, Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, all these amazing souls that have, given us gifts.
I love that. And you kind of touched on that a little bit earlier. You said that instead of waking up and turning on something that's going to just make you crazy that you can't change, and that would be the news, maybe you dive into something that is more impactful on your life.
You have to guard the gates of your mind, as Jim Rohn said. It is raining on you. Negativity and fear and doubt is raining on all of us like Niagara Falls every single day and everywhere you go. So you have to kind of guard your mind. And not only with what's being thrown at you as far as noise, but who are you around? What's your proximity factor? Who are you spending the most time with? Do you aspire to be like them? Or are they someone that you're the richest person, the smartest person in the room, and you're not growing anymore? Or are you around negative, bad influences? Where are you spending your time?
I love that. Jason Caras, Fundamentally Unstoppable. You'll find it on Amazon. If you want to create your own book, I'm going to Grok now after the show to figure out how to do one on my own. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, listen, you can watch our streaming show, Bloom Health Club, on Apple TV, Fire TV, Roku, Samsung TV, WFLA.com, and YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. A special thank you to Monticciolo Family and Sedation Dentistry for believing in us so we can get this content out to you. And I will see you on the next Bloom Health Club.